Hey y'all, it's Megan, and this is the Yes Godcast, and this is the place where we come to stop performing for the world and start partnering with the God that lives within us so that we can live in alignment with the truth that we already are. Yes, God! So today we're going to be talking about how our bodies have been telling us the truth longer than our mind has even known or thought of the question. So I want us to start thinking about, what if anxiety wasn't just stress, but what if it was a sacred intel? What if burnout wasn't failure, but actually communication and information? All right. Our bodies communicate with us in all types of ways, whether it's through dis-ease. If we're having an issue, we may start to exhibit symptoms. I worked a lot with this in Yes God Wellness as we began the brand with womb wellness and yoni steaming. And what I would find time and time again is that these physical manifestations of womb disease would come on the back of a lot of emotional dis-ease and dysregulation. And so I learned that there is a very tight correlation between what we're experiencing in our body emotionally and energetically, and then what is created in our lives, okay? And there were a lot of issues with forgiveness that I found to be very potent in creating some disease for folks, with resentment and holding grudges, and that being something that would create things for them that they did not want. So we're going to talk today about using the body as a wake-up call. Instead of ignoring the fatigue, instead of trying to override and hurry up and do something more and do something different and push through and, suffering, what if our body is communicating with us and letting us know, hey, you know what? There's something that you may be perceiving or thinking about in a way that's not empowering to you, and I would like to go ahead and give you the opportunity to do that now. I have a little one who's just came home, so give me just one moment. If we look at our body as an instrument of communication versus something that we have to try and distract ourselves from, or suppress, or numb, or move away from, or do more to get out of an uncomfortable feeling, and we actually looked at the uncomfortable feelings as information, as data, we are empowered now to actually give the answer, respond to the communication, and actually start a dialogue with ourselves and our nervous system to actually be able to become aware, right, of what may be bothering us, what may be hurting us, what may be draining us, holding us back. And then we also have the opportunity to not just become aware, but to start to shift that. And that's how we start to select our reality. We select our reality through being aware that we are creating at all times based on our perspective, based on our perception. And we then allow ourselves to become aware of the identity that is creating that, right? Because our identity defines what we're thinking, what we're perceiving, what our perspective is. So when we can zoom out of that identity and move over to the identity of divine, holy extension of God, which is what we all are. We are all souls having a human experience. We can start to have that conversation and dialogue in an empowering way that allows us to select something different. Okay, so I many years ago, when I first started life coaching, created the ACE method. And the ACE originally stands for awareness, clarity, and expectation. So I want to walk us through an exercise that we can do when we're experiencing a trigger, right? When we are feeling anxious, or when we're feeling depressed, or when we're feeling nervous, or when we get a text message or a phone call or an email, and we learn some news or some information, some data that makes us feel dread or anxiety or devastation or pain or trauma even, okay? So the first part of the ACE method is awareness, and that is first and foremost, and I don't hate to say it like this, it's the process of shutting the fuck up. So catching the trigger, catch the spiral, catch your breath, shut the fuck up, breathe, and pause. So in action, right? I am focused on something. I'm trying to get this podcast episode done. My daughter just came home. She's yelling. She needs something. So instead of allowing myself to get frustrated and caught off track and be like, oh, I'm going to do this later, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to go meet her need. I'm going to have the conversation, right? Open up the dialogue. And this is exactly what we do with our thoughts. We hear them out. We give them a moment. Okay. So back to the process, awareness, catch the trigger, catch the thought, catch the spiral, catch yourself when you're starting to feel like, and you shut the fuck up, you breathe and you pause. Okay. This is the starting point for everyone. Okay. Before we learn how to transform it and alchemize, we have to first learn the self-discipline of shutting the fuck up, being quiet, not allowing our current identity to perceive this issue, this problem, this whatever, as something that has the power to make us feel any type of way. Any circumstance should not have the power to make us feel any type of way. Why? Because we're a divine extension of God. We're already perfect, whole, peaceful, complete, fulfilled, no matter what the circumstance is. Okay, so this is where the power truly comes in, is learning how to be aware of yourself when you start to, when your automatic response is to yell or to say something or to do or to think or to get yourself riled up, starting to learn how to be still and quiet. And I literally, the best way that I can say it is learn how to shut the fuck up. Not just we're going to shut the fuck up and not talk about it to other people. We're going to tell our thoughts initially, right? Because sometimes those thoughts will come and try, but what about, shut the fuck up. I love you and I'm grateful for you and I'm glad that you're here trying to protect me. But right now I'm going to need you to shut the fuck up, because we are going to understand that this trigger, this point, is a demarcation for me to shift and select a different reality. And the way that I do that is by understanding that my response to my thoughts, not the thoughts themselves, but my response to my thoughts is actually what selects my reality. Because the version of me, right, that is responding in this way is giving information back to my body about what my identity is. Okay, so that's the divine interception point, is the awareness. That's the ACE of the A of ACE. The C is curiosity. Ask instead of assume. What am I feeling? What is the story here? Is this an old wound coming up? What is happening that I am thinking this? Did it happen before and there was an outcome and I think the same outcome is going to happen? This is where you let the ego get quiet and you allow those deep breaths. Shut the fuck up. Thank you for your help. But right now, I'm going to let my heart speak to me, and I'm going to let my heart feel into me. I'm not going to allow my thoughts to take me down a rabbit hole, to take me down a spiral. I'm going to. Okay? So this process takes a while. Sometimes it even requires you to not say shit for a day or two. Right? Really take that dialogue, that fight that's happening, right, between the fight that's inside of you that's causing the ego conflict is between your thoughts and your reaction to the thoughts, because that's what's creating the emotion. And the emotion, the energy is motion, is what's creating your future. So when we can start to consider different solutions, or maybe there's a solution that I'm not even aware of yet. I'm going to halt with creating anything from the past that I know of, and I'm going to learn how to shut the fuck up and just allow God to fill that space in with some peace, some clarity. Maybe I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle yet. Maybe I used to block myself from the solutions and the pieces of the puzzle because I would jump to conclusions about the past. Hold on one second. This is such a beautiful example because my ex-husband is outside helping to fix the children's bikes, and he's the one that brought my daughter home. So this is an example of interruptions to a previously constructed plan that don't need to spiral into something that turns into anxiety and stress and anger and, upset, right? So where I was at was talking about how allowing ourselves to become quiet allows God to come in and fill that space, and even opens us up to other solutions that we may not have been available to. Why? Because we weren't the version of ourselves that understands that everything's going to be okay. Everything always works out for me. Why does everything always go in my favor? Because I'm a divine extension of God. That's why. Yes, God. By the way, if you'd like affirmations, go ahead and download them for free in my link below. I also do this work week by week with my clients in the Yes God Body Spiritual Gym. We come together and we practice this in real life. We talk about real life situations, circumstances, how to process trauma, how to manage triggers, and things like that. So if you're interested, please check that out as well. So the third part of ACE, right? We have A for awareness, C for curiosity or clarity, and then E for embodiment. Okay, so now because we're regulated and because we've calmed ourselves down and we've shut the fuck up with all the chatter, now we can start to choose something different. We can start to move different. We can start to respond different. And just like that, that's where our new reality is selected. Okay, so this is where shutting the fuck up becomes the healing. It becomes the design, because shutting your mouth keeps you closed off from a previous reality that you've experienced. Okay, so your body always knows, and your mind is trying to protect you. And we're not here to demonize our mind or make it like our mind. We need our mind. We love our mind. Our mind is what makes us unique expressions of God through humanity. But we also need to understand that the inner authority, right, is that God and the heart, the gut, right, that comes first before the mind. And in order to calibrate that, we have to sometimes work through some of the traumas that we've experienced to allow us to get to a place where we can be mindful of, hey, you know what, this is what I'm being told and this is what I'm feeling in my gut even, right? Because sometimes trauma comes through and it can be very sneaky and disguise itself as intuition. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes trauma can be so insidious that it will come through and try to disguise itself as intuition. And this is why it's so important to get in that spiritual gym every day and practice being still and quiet with yourself, being still and quiet and focusing on your breath. Because when you start to do that more and you practice that muscle of stillness, surrender, and awareness, now you can start to weed out, okay, what is this coming from? Is this coming from my mind trying to pretend it's coming from my gut and my heart? Or is this truly coming from a knowing that God has provided me access to through meditation, through stillness, through being still and knowing? Yes, God. So our body knows, and it speaks to us in anxiety, right? It speaks to us in hunger. It speaks to us. Our job is not to suppress it. Our job is to honor it. And that's how we alchemize triggers into tools. Okay. So if you're tired of spiritual theory, techniques, and all this, ready for transformation you can feel and feel good about in your heart, come train with us inside the Success Sanctuary, the Yes God Body Spiritual Gym. This is not a mindset thing. This is a muscle memory for your actual spirit. And as a part of that, we also train the mind to be in subservience to the heart. But this is more so we're training nervous system. Okay. My name is Megan. I hope to see you soon. Tune in for the next episode, and I will chat with y'all soon. Bye.